Thank you, Eugene. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Plug and Play Benefits of Out-of-the-Box CDA for Siebel Clinical. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Param Singh, and I'm the Vice President of the Clinical Trial Management Solution Practice at BioPharm Systems. I've been working in the industry for the past 14 years, and during that time have almost exclusively been working with Siebel Clinical. Before joining BioPharm close to 6 years ago now, I was part of Accenture's Pharma R&D practice and leading Siebel CTMS implementations there as well. Overall now I've been part of 30-plus implementations and integrations of Siebel Clinical. And these vary from implementations from pharma, CROs, medical device companies, and academic research organizations, and also range from anywhere from 30 users to global implementations of over 4,000 users. And with me today I have Rohit Sharma, and I'm going to let Rohit introduce himself.
Thanks, Param. Hi, good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Rohit Sharma, and I work in the clinical warehousing practice at BioPharm Systems as a principal consultant. My primary role is that of a technical architect for CDA, which is Clinical Development Analytics, and LSH, or Oracle Life Sciences Data Hub. I have more than 16 years of experience in the software industry in software development, project management, and consulting. I've been with BioPharm for just over 2 years now, prior to which I worked at Oracle as the development manager for both LSH and CDA. Param, over to you.
Thank you, Rohit. So now that we've introduced ourselves, I'd like to take a minute just to talk about our team here at BioPharm, and to explain a little bit more about what we do before we get into the key topic of today's webinar. So we provide a variety of services and products related to clinical trial management. So specifically with our practice, with the CTMS practice and the CDA practice, we manage implementations of Siebel's Clinical CTMS, Clear Trials budgeting and planning software, Oracle's LabPass for Phase 1 automation, Life Science Data Hub, and Clinical Development Analytics, as well as we provide accelerator solutions to all of these applications. Also, if you've seen some of our previous webinars, you know that we do extensive work with integrations in Siebel Clinical and related systems. And today we're going to look at one such integration with CDA and CTMS. Our approach to system implementations is very process-focused. So we also provide our process consulting services to help organizations define and harmonize their SOPs and business process across their organization with respect to clinical trial management. And we offer comprehensive training services and products related to all of these solutions, including on-site or web-based trainer-led courses, as well as e-learning courses for the applications that we support. So this is just a glimpse of some of the services and products that we offer in this space. And again, for more information, feel free to contact myself, Rohit, or directly on our website. So here's a look at today's agenda. We're going to start with a look at industry trends and challenges that our industry and potentially your organizations may be facing. So, with any solution or application or reporting tool, we really need to look at what the driver is behind that solution. So this will allow us to sort of frame the conversation and discuss what challenges these solutions potentially address. Next, I'll pass it on to Rohit, who will discuss at a high level what CDA is and what it has to offer to address the challenges that we discussed. After a few slides and description of the capability, we thought it would be best to demonstrate the standalone CDA solution. So Rohit will take us into the application directly and show us what it has to offer out of the box. So once we look at the solution in a standalone demonstration, I'll discuss the benefits of using CDA and Siebel Clinical together. So the CDA application itself still reports on the same integrated data, but there may be some added benefit for users of Siebel CTMS to have that data represented alongside the data in the actual transactional CTMS system. So we'll look at both of those scenarios. So once we discuss that at a high level, I'll then briefly demonstrate how CDA can be embedded directly within Siebel CTMS, so that the users that are already users of Siebel can harness the benefits of CDA without having to go to a separate application. So once we complete both of those demos, I'll then pass it back to Rohit to discuss the services we can provide in this area and how we can get a quick implementation of CDA at your organization. And then we'll have some time for Q&A at the end of the webinar. So as a reminder, if you do have any questions along the way, please submit them in the chat feature, and we'll address them during the QA session at the end of today's webinar as time allows. So with that, let's get started. So, okay, so we're all well aware of some of the most critical challenges that in our industry today. So first, we're seeing a significant increase in outsourcing of trials. So we're moving from one-off interactions with CROs to a long-term sort of partnership-based relationships with our partner organizations. Choosing the right outsourcing partner is critical. You need to be able to select highly reputable service providers with global experience and resources that have flexibility for trial changes, integrated network, and affordable price. And when we're tracking this, when we're tracking our partners within our CTMS and their ability to execute our trials, we need some concrete sort of data around the progress and performance of those partners. Secondly, we're seeing that clinical trials are becoming increasingly complex. We're seeing an increase in the number of trials. Growing globalization and the need to comply with regulations in various countries results in increased complexity. And with this globalization of trials, we're also seeing more regions and countries being introduced to the industry, and of course more resources that are involved. So with all of these changes, accurate forecasting and real-time reporting is more important than ever. So we need the ability to view and report on data in different ways. So continuing this discussion, we're seeing the need to address cost pressures of these global studies and proactively reduce patient risk on increasingly complex clinical trials. The way that we can do that is to have accurate real-time data to dynamically make decisions on these trials. So companies are moving to a more holistic and efficient approach to decision support to get more value from the data that's collected. So the move to enterprise-wide systems was the first step in getting this centralized, consolidated data. And now with multiple systems involved in various aspects of the trials, this new approach can anticipate and therefore reduce overall costs and make data available from numerous sources. So as a result, organizations are able to make important decisions faster in a timely and meaningful manner based on more accurate data. So like I mentioned earlier, the first step to this sort of holistic view was adopting enterprise-wide applications for certain functions, such as Siebel Clinical for clinical trial management. It gives us a centralized view of all of the aspects of clinical trial management in one place, in one application. We can certainly effectively use it and its functionality to get some meaningful data out to drive decisions, but there are some limitations. So one, we do have a limited number of out-of-the-box reports in Siebel Clinical. So, the reports that are there, they do provide some basic information in specific areas, but they are limited in number, and they're also limited from an end-user manipulation standpoint. So you can't really change much as an end user on these static reports that are generated. The export functionality in Siebel is actually pretty useful and quite nice, but may require some additional manipulation as well. So what you get is a basic list report or a basic dump of records out of Siebel, based on the screen or view that you're on. So you would still need to use Excel features to represent things like aggregates, averages, and get any sort of pivot tables or graphical displays of that data. So there's still some additional work to get it to that place. You can do some fancy graphical reports using BI Publisher, and we do those for our clients all the time. But those need to be developed in BI Publisher or any other reporting tool that you're using for Siebel. And that might be time-consuming depending on the tool. So if there's a requirement to add additional reports or some additional customer or custom-based reports based on some end users, that's going to require some additional time, some additional resources to design and develop and test those reports. And all of that, you can't really do all of that as an end user. It still requires sort of an administrative level of capability to do that within the system. And also a key point that's not mentioned on this slide is the fact that any reporting tool in Siebel can pretty much only report on data that's in CTMS. So any data across data sources won't be represented, which is where this idea of a holistic solution like CDA can provide more options. So with that, I will turn it over to Rohit, who's going to go into the benefits of CDA. Rohit?
Yeah, thanks, Param. So let's go over a brief description of CDA, what it is, and then we'll try to do a little demo of an actual CDA instance here at BioPharm, so we can look at the capabilities. CDA, or Clinical Development Analytics, is an analytics solution by Oracle that sources data from transactional clinical systems and other third parties and presents it to the users as configurable, prepackaged, and role-based dashboards. And these dashboards and reports provide insights into the study data and clinical operations at various levels. You can slice and dice that data at the organizational level, or study regions or therapeutic areas, studies themselves, sites. It's very flexible. Now, these dashboards and the measures that they encapsulate can then help sponsors and CROs drive informed business decisions. Let's look at the next one. So this is a slightly more technical representation of CDA. Out of the box, it's integrated with OCRDC and CTMS. It sources data from these systems through a set of prepackaged Informatica ETLs, or extract, transform, and load programs. And it converts that extracted data into dimensional database model in the CDA warehouse, which resides in an Oracle database. Dimensional model is just a term that, dimensional modeling helps optimize the reports and dashboards performance when they ask for slicing and dicing the data by various dimensions, such as organization, region, study site, etc. This data is then presented to the prepackaged OBIEE or Oracle Business Intelligence Enterprise Edition reports and dashboards, which are tailored to various organizational roles. OBIEE has very strong infographics capabilities as well as capabilities to enable ad hoc analysis of CDA warehouse data, as we'll see in a moment during the demo. A couple of things I'd like to mention here before we move on is, first, although CDA comes pre-packaged with OCRDC and CTMS as data sources, it is highly configurable and customizable so that additional data sources can also be added depending on your organization's needs. For example, if you have metadata Rave as one of the CDMS systems, BioPharm can help you source data from that system as well. Second, although as we'll see a little later, the CDA dashboards and reports can be embedded within the CTMS, and that works great for CTMS users who go to CTMS on a daily basis. What CDA provides also is the capability for executive users to not having to go to the CTMS application, but still be looking at CTMS and also the study collected data directly in CDA. Now, out of the box, this is a quick snapshot of the CDA inventory. It comes with over 150 pre-built reports and dashboards. There are 24 prepackaged reports on the trial management side, where CTMS is the primary source, and there are 26 prepackaged reports on the data management side, covering both EDC and paper, where OCRDC is the primary source. Now, we will not be focusing on the data management side today, but it's important to know that it covers both the aspects of study conduct. Continuing on the inventory, the data warehouse, CDA data warehouse, is optimized for clinical trials, and it includes all the attributes and measurements that clinical trials usually want to report on. In all, it contains over 1,000 business attributes from the transactional systems. There are also pre-built adapters for clinical applications such as OCRDC and CTMS. Having said that, every organization is unique in the way they collect data and conduct business, so CDA can be customized to include additional measures or attributes or even additional data sources that are important for your business, and we can certainly help you with that assessment and implementation. With that, let me take you through a quick demo of the CDA capabilities. Let me try and share my. Can everybody? Eugene, are you able to see the desktop?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so this is from an internal BioPharm demo instance. The idea is to give all the demo all the capabilities of CDA. So the richness of data will not be a strong point here. So you will see data which might look sparse at certain points, and so please bear with that. Now, as I said, it comes, or CDA comes pre-packaged into role-based dashboards in OBIEE. And if you look at the dashboards here, there are pre-packaged dashboards for CRAs, data managers, executives, region managers, study managers, and study site managers. So it tries to cover a whole gamut of roles within the organization. We will start with the executive dashboards, and as you can see here, when you land here as an executive, you get these dashboards and reports are organization-wide. They're across the organization. You get a quick snapshot of the number of studies by phase or number of studies by program. You also get a quick snapshot of key performance indicators or KPIs over time. Again, there's not a lot of data here, but you can see medians on CDB complete to site initiated, last subject, last visit to database lock, and other such important measures. OBIE 11G also comes with a cool feature of maps integration. So if you have your sites correctly set up with longitude and latitude data in CTMS, you can access those sites directly from this map by clicking on those. It's not correctly set up right now in our demo instance. You can also there are these two reports at the top here for study performance, and you can look at the summary for all the studies in your organization with respect to the key performance indicators like percentage of sites recruiting, 0 subjects, protocol approved to first site initiated, what was the target. You can set up targets also in CDA, so you can compare the target versus actual data. And then you can also look at the study summary with respect to milestones. And the milestones that come out of the box are the IRB submission, approval, site initiation, CDB completion, first subject, last subject, and so on. Now, as you look at these other tabs, there is a tab on KPI summary where you can see a whole lot of KPIs for your organization. For example, you can look at the protocol approved to first site initiated data, and it gives you a nice graph of the number of studies and for a quarterly and yearly progression of what were the median number of days between the protocol approval and the first site initiation, and what was the target. Similarly, protocol approval to first subject enrolled, and there again, as you can set up targets and medians, it gives you an idea of the number of studies versus medians and targets. You can also get a graph of CDB complete to site initiated and LSLV or last subject, last visit to database lock. For all these reports, you have these quick links at the bottom where you can refresh the data, you can print, you can export to pretty much everything. PDF, Excel, PowerPoint, web, which is an HTML, or as pure data in CSV, tab, or XML format. So pretty strong export capabilities. You can add any report or dashboard to the briefing book. Briefing book is a concept in OBIE. It's like a collection of your key reports and dashboards that you want to look at, and you as a user can package them together as a briefing book, and then you can directly come to OBIE and just look at that briefing book, and that contains all the key reports and dashboards that you want to look at. You can also set up a mailer so that it gets mailed to your email periodically, every day maybe, or every week. So we will take a look at the briefing book shortly. Then you also have other tabs here which talk about the site performance across your organization, top investigators, study site map, and then there's a study listing where you can, with respect to the milestones, and you can get a quick snapshot of what is the recruitment status for the study, retention, and milestone status. This demo, everything is green, but I guess it will not be so in the real world. You can directly, if a study interests you from here for some reason, you can directly go to the study overview dashboard from here. And now we are at the study level where we can track specific studies. You have these filters at the top for each dashboard where you can jump across programs or studies and look at different data as you want. So the study overview, the first landing page gives you study information, recruitment information, and retention information, and then gives you an overall status of the study here, the recruitment, retention, and milestone statuses. if this is something, if you're a study manager and you're interested in this study, you may want to add it to your briefing book, which is pretty simple to do. You just click here, add to briefing book. It asks you where to save it. You can save it as you can create a new briefing book here and give it a name and save it, and it gets saved to your briefing book. We will try and add a couple of more things to the briefing book along the way, and then we'll take a look at it later. You can also see the study enrollment progress over time for the overall study for all sites. Not a lot going on here, but you can see that this is this line over here shows you the study progress, enrollment progress. You can then look at the screening overview for. We'll not have time to look at all these tabs and all the dashboards, but I'll try to cover a few key ones. This dashboard gives you an idea about the screening for the study, and you can see at a site level the number screened, which is the red bar, and the number enrolled, which is the blue bar. And if you have multiple sites, it will give you this data for all the sites. You can also there's also a report showing here the screen failure reasons by site, and it gives you a quick distribution of site-wise what were the screen failure reasons and what were the numbers. So if there's anything which stands out, you can take action on that. At a study level overall, it will also give you a picture of what were the screen failure reasons and what were the number of screen failures because of those reasons. You can take a look at the recruitment for the entire study here, and this will give you an enrollment progress over time for the entire study for all the study sites. And it also gives you, for all the study regions, the enrollment numbers, the planned number of subjects, and the screen failures, enrolled, randomized, and so on. You can drill down here by clicking on any study region, and that then breaks down the region into study sites and tells you the data about all the study sites for that region. You have a bunch of monitoring metrics for the study where you can where it tells you an analysis for the site visits, what were the number of site visits and when did they happen. You can see that in March 2013 there were 4 visits. At any point you can drill down into the graph by clicking on one of these bars, and then it drills down into that month, and then it gives you a week-wise breakup of the number of visits. You can further drill down into the week, and then it gives you a day-wise breakup of those visits. So you can, pretty powerful drill down capabilities. You can click return here to return to the original graph. Then it also gives you a snapshot of visit frequency compared to subject enrollment. So when were you making the site visits, and did it impact the subject enrollments? Did those visits impact the subject enrollment? So you can get a quick snapshot of that. Just a quick housekeeping thing, but then at the bottom of each dashboard that you see, it gives you the date that the warehouse was last refreshed, so you know exactly in terms of with respect to the transactional data what you're looking at. You can also go to the study if you're a site manager. You can go to the study site, and this will probably be your default dashboard when you log in. By the way, depending on your role, you may not be seeing all these dashboards, and what you see when you log in will be tailored according to your role in the organization. If you're a site manager, you would probably be seeing the study site dashboard. So when you get to this, again, the first dashboard that you see is the overview one, where you get the study site information about the recruitment on the study site, and then the retention. You can see the screening and enrollment for that particular study site, numbers screened, numbers enrolled, and what were this line here shows you the numbers that were planned for that study site. So this study site is doing pretty well, actually. And then you can see a data about enrollments versus early termination. So this line at the bottom shows you the cumulative number of early terminations for that study site. You can then take a deeper dive into each of these areas. If screening and recruitment is something you want to look at, then you can go to this tab and look at the screening and recruitment overview. Again, it gives you an idea about or a monthly progression of the screening and enrollment numbers for the study site, and it also gives you an analysis of the screen failure reasons for the study site. Not many failures here, just one, I guess, and the reason was that the subject declined to participate. But if there are multiple reasons and multiple subjects, you can look at the data here, and if there are any anomalies or certain reasons due to which subjects do not participate, then you can further drill down into what to do about those. It gives you enrollment progress for the study site over time, and compared to what was planned, what was 90% of planned, 75% of planned, and so on. So you can get a quick snapshot of where you stand with respect to that. By the way, these graphs, I mean, if graphs is your thing, then fine. If not, you can always switch to table here, and you can look at the data in a as a table instead of the graph. So you can do that with every graph that you see here on the application. Maybe you're a study site manager. This is something that interests you, and you look at it at a daily basis. You can add this whole dashboard if you want. Also, earlier we saw adding a particular report or a graph to the briefing book. You can also add whole dashboards to the briefing book, and the way you do it is by expanding or dropping down this little menu on the top right, and you say Add to Briefing Book. You can browse, and you can define as many briefing books as you want. For now, I'll be adding it to the same briefing book, so that we can look at it later on and see what we can do with that. You can also look at the site retention data, and again, powerful images and graphs here on what were the analysis of early terminations, what were the reasons, what were the numbers, the data about subject retention over time, and it's not because there are no completed subjects here, so that line at the bottom shows the completed subjects. And then data about enrollments and early terminations, so the red line here shows the planned, the bars themselves show the actual enrollments, cumulative enrollment, and this line at the bottom shows the early terminations. Again, this is monthly data, so you can, as we did earlier, you can always drill down into one of the months that interests you, and you can look at the weekly data for that month, or again drill down into week and look at the day-wise breakup for the enrollments and early terminations. Again, there are monitoring and other metrics. There's a quick snapshot of the study site team that you can look at. But having looked at these dashboards, I would now like to demo some more capabilities of CDA or OBIE as an application and what you can do with it. These dashboards, as I said, are very configurable, and you can quickly edit one of these dashboards if you want, and it's as simple as again, this little drop down on the top right, you say Edit Dashboard, and you can quickly add content here from one of the pre-existing analyses or something that you might have created for yourself. Suppose I want to add the study information. You can just drag and drop it here. You can see how it looks using the preview. And you can see that the study, it doesn't look very pretty, but the study information is added here on your dashboard. So it's the configuring or resetting or shuffling the dashboards around is pretty simple in OBI. I'm not going to save it. It's one of the delivered out of the box content, so I don't want to overwrite it. But it's pretty simple to do, as you can see. Another very strong capability is having all these prepackaged reports and dashboards is one thing, but you may want to have as users or as business users, you want to look at data differently. You want to look at different combinations of data. And in OBI, in CDA, it's very easy to create new ad hoc analysis, and you can say new analysis for OCDA, and it gives you a list of all the attributes, the 1,000+ attributes that we talked about, and they are bucketed nicely by these various dimensions. You can choose attributes that you want to see on your analysis. For example, you can say, I want to look at something on the study site, but say I want to have the study region. It's all drag and drop and pretty simple. I want to have the study site ID, and then I want to look at some of the numbers for this study site. So numbers are all contained within facts, and then when you drop down the facts or expand the facts, you see the study site metrics. I'll expand this a bit, and I don't know. You want to look at number of completed site visits. You want to look at number of early terminations, number enrolled, and you can just drag and drop things that you want to look at, and you can click results here, which will show you how this report looks when it runs. So this is how we'll not go into this for this demo, but you can do powerful graphs and different kind of graphs and filters and everything here that you saw with the out of the box dashboards and reports. If you're happy with this report that you built, you can save it, and you can save it in. It gets saved in your folders. You can say my analysis. You can also add your custom analysis that you have made to the briefing book. So you can say, I want to add this to the briefing book, and I want to use the same briefing book that, I just have one briefing book that I use for everything. And there it goes. It's as simple as that. Now, we added a few things to the briefing book along the way. If you go to your home page, you can see your briefing book and your other content there. If you want to see how your briefing book looks like, I just clicked on the PDF link. It will show me the briefing book as a PDF. I might have to share this. Okay, is this visible? Is the PDF visible, Eugene?
No, I don't see it.
Okay. Okay, now it should be. So this is your briefing book that opens up in as a PDF. These are the things that we added to the briefing book on the way. So you can see the study milestones with indicators, recruitment overview for the study site, and then this my analysis. And this is the first one, the study milestone, the first report that we added. This is the entire dashboard that we added for the recruitment overview, and this is the ad hoc analysis, the my analysis that I just created. So this briefing book now contains everything. You can either come to CDA every day and look at this briefing book, or you can also set up something known as an agent which can deliver this briefing book to your mailbox on a regular basis. So it's as simple as dropping down new here and agent that you see here. There are some quick attributes that you need to set for the agent. You can set whatever frequency you want here, once, daily, weekly, monthly, and then you can set up start and end times. You can also have it run conditionally, which we're not going to go into now, but you can say only run this agent or send me the email if there is certain condition that is met. Then you can tell the agent what is the delivery content that you want. And I don't want the analysis, I want my briefing book. So I say I want briefing book, I browse for my briefing book, say OK. And if you can deliver a static message if the condition is not true. You can add recipients. I mean, for adding recipients, you can add the OBI or the OBI or CDA users directly here. Add emails. So if this is something that I just want to send out as an email, I can add emails here, and there are various destinations to which I can deliver this content. I can deliver it directly to the home page and dashboard, or I can also deliver to specific devices like email, pager, phone, handheld. So for right now, I'm going to set delivery to email, and I'm going to save this agent as my agent. So I have, for the schedule, I've set it to run never, so it's not going to run. But you can always go to your home page and manually run it from here. You see your agent here, briefing book, analysis, everything. You can go to your agent and say run, and it'll run and send out an email to you with exactly the same attachment that we saw in the PDF. So those are some of the capabilities that we have. We saw the strong out-of-the-box content, role-based dashboards, and reports. We also looked at how we can very easily create ad hoc analyses in OBIE or CDA, how we can add customized content or bundle content together according to our needs in a briefing book, and how we can easily access that briefing book or have it sent to us using agents. So that concludes the demo portion for CDA. Over to you, Param.
Great. Thank you, Rohit. So we have a little bit more to cover. Let me see if I can. Rohit, can you try to stop sharing on your side?
Okay, there you go. Oops.
I don't know if I have control. Do you guys?
Are you trying to get the slide?
Can you slide?
I can see the slide right now, the CDA and Siebel Clinical one.
Okay. It's not showing me on my side, but I'll continue. So, okay, there we go. So we're just going to talk about, and we discussed this, or Rohit discussed this on the demo, but in terms of benefits of using CDA with Siebel Clinical, so the data that we were looking at, it really can help sponsors and CROs make more informed decisions. So, we can review and manage all clinical programs across the organization, make key decisions early to affect the outcomes of cost, efficiency, and productivity overall. It can provide us some instant access to study and project status metrics, so we can have better visibility into the data via those dashboards rather than trying to sift through all the details. You can easily track progress via these on-demand and scheduled reports. And then we can identify easily via visualization non-performing or underperforming sites and better focus our resources on those key areas. So better business intelligence and metrics allows us to improve clinical productivity and effectiveness, increasing our effectiveness via more focused resource optimization, especially when we're talking about workload projections and forecasting for both clinical operations and data management. Rohit mentioned that we can look at data across CTMS and data management as well as other sources. So when we're looking at managing efficiencies between those two areas, looking at workload and projecting and forecasting workload, that's something that CDA is going to allow us to do. It's going to allow us to reduce costs via site visibility and minimizing unnecessary travel expenses to the sites potentially, and improving overall study site performance, again, by identifying non-performing or underperforming sites and investigators early, and then using those data to drive key decisions on resource allocation. So a lot of that hopefully has become sort of evident in that standalone demonstration of CDA. But for additional benefits for study team members, so the folks that, all of those were benefits of non-users of Siebel potentially that could gain insight into through CDA alone. For CTMS users, such as the clinical monitor, study manager, or program manager, who manages day-to-day tasks, milestones, activities in CTMS, embedded CDA can offer some additional benefits. So for clinical monitors, they can quickly, on their dashboard, see how enrollment is progressing. What are the trends around reasons for screen failure for a particular set of sites or for a study? For study managers, they can quickly see what documents are outstanding, preventing site readiness, looking at sites that are taking longest to return documents, and ultimately which ones are the best and worst performers on a variety of measures. And then for program managers, they can look at metrics, at studies across the organization, see things like which regions are recruiting most sites, and which ones are quick to achieving desired enrollment. So as Rohit explained and showed us through answers, custom reporting is a huge benefit of CDA. So reports and dashboards can be quickly customized and extended to meet the organization's unique requirements. And this capability can be extended to give savvy end users the ability to develop and share their own graphical reports and add them to their dashboards like Rohit demonstrated. So now, just for I know we need to save some time for Q&A, but I'd like to show you very quickly a live demonstration of CDA within Siebel Clinical. So we have a demo environment running, and I'll quickly show you. So here we are. Okay, here we are in Siebel Clinical. So alongside with your listing of studies and your listing of studies, your listing of sites, we've also enabled CDA directly in the application. So one of the things that you can do, there's a few different ways to embed it. One of the ways that we can embed it is to embed pretty much an entire dashboard directly into the application. So as a user,
Param, I don't think we see your demo actually.
Oh.
Now we can. Something came up, but looks like there may be a delay on your end.
Okay.
Right now we're on the Study Site Overview tab. Is that correct?
Yeah. Do you see any movement?
No movement.
Okay. Okay. So, I mean, hopefully I can illustrate it. Just, I know there's probably a little technical glitch here delaying my my refresh. But what we can do is basically embed an entire dashboard. So if you're seeing it and there's no movement, you can sort of visualize how this looks from an end user perspective. So I'm still in the Siebel application. I'm just on a different tab, and it can show you everything that Rohit had showed you in CDA as a standalone, but it's sort of embedded directly into the Siebel application. A second way for us to do that is actually using some of the data that's in Siebel as context for the dashboards and for the reports that are embedded through CDA. And again, I'm going to try to go slow here so you can see what we're looking at. But what I'm attempting to show you is going to my site management screen, going to a list of my sites, and clicking on a Site CDA option. So now, again, I'm on one particular site, so half of the screen is showing me the form from Siebel with high-level information about that site. And if I scroll down, I'm actually seeing a study site overview for that site directly in the Siebel application. So again, I've embedded these reports directly into Siebel so that we can now use functionality in Siebel such as navigation between these records, looking at the high-level information that's tracked for that site within Siebel, and then also looking at the embedded dashboards and reports within the Siebel application. So I apologize for the sort of technical glitch if you're not able to see what I'm trying to demonstrate. But what Siebel and CDA allow us to do is actually create a single user experience for those users that are by definition sort of clinical operations that are going to be in Siebel from a day-to-day operations perspective. They don't have to go to a separate application to see all of the same dashboards that Rohit had demonstrated. They can actually view all of that, or you can configure your Siebel system to allow for CDA reports to be embedded directly into into Siebel. And once they are embedded, one of the things that you can see is a lot of the features that are part of CDA are still it still operates the same way. So I can still control things like dragging and dropping fields, and also if there's a hyperlinks within some of the dashboards that are supposed to take you to other dashboards, that all that functionality still works the way that it was demonstrated, or the way that it works in CDA as a standalone. So here I clicked on a study site overview hyperlink, and it opened up a direct window directly into CDA for me to see all of that detail, outside and underneath that particular study. So it takes all the context from the screens and views that you're on in Siebel and passes that information on to CDA or grabs that information from CDA. So with that, I'll pass it on to Rohit for this last slide before we open it up to Q&A.
Thanks, Param. So before we jump into questions, a quick summary of how BioPharm can help you with your CDA implementations. We can provide services such as demonstrating in detail what you've seen here today and tailoring that demonstration to your organization needs, and diving deep in the specifics of each approach. We can also hold deep dive workshops or full-on analysis projects to analyze your company's process and determine which approach would be the best fit for your company's needs. And once we determine the right path for your organization, we can provide the piloting, POC, development, and implementation services to fulfill the requirements in the system. We can also provide system validation and training services, and we also provide hosting services and installation and configuration services. In fact, we can get a CDA sandbox environment up and running for you in about 2 weeks. That is, say, a sandbox environment where you can get a quick idea of the capabilities of CDA out of the box, no customization, and sourcing data from one of your CTMS environments. So that can be, we have done that in 2 weeks at multiple places. With regards to the products that BioPharm has to offer in this area, the robust module that you saw today is packaged in an add-on module that we can deploy on your Siebel Clinical system or our own BioPharm Ascend Siebel Clinical Accelerator solution. We can also offer your organization access to our sandbox environment for your company to evaluate and assess the functionality and capability of our enhancements for your company's processes and CTMS requirements. That we can now go into the questions and answers.
Okay, great, thank you. So we only have 1 minute or so I'm just going to ask one question just because we're out of time. And so the first question, the only question that we'll have time for, is can target dates for KPIs be set in CDA, or do they need to be sourced from CTMS?
I can take that. The target dates for KPIs, they're not really tied to CTMS. You have the option of sourcing them from CTMS if you want, or defining them somewhere else and then sourcing them into CDA from there.
Okay, great, thank you. So we are at about 12 o'clock Eastern time, so that'll end our presentation and very short Q&A session. If you do have additional questions, you can always email us at info@biopharm.com, or you can visit our website, biopharm.com. Keep in mind that we have future webinars coming up, both on CTMS and LSH and CDA and several safety applications, so always keep checking our website for additional information. Thank you so much for joining our presentation today. We hope it was very helpful for you, and we look forward to speaking with you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.